Hey, what's up everyone? Hope you're all having a wonderful time. Today we're taking a look on my league starter for the Abyssal League in Path of Exile 2 and the progression we made it so far. And I decided to try out the grenades once again here, and with a lot of great changes and additions for this league. It's really feels super awesome playing it so far. And basically we went through the campaign really easy and straight to the end game without any problems really. And with the update to Essence, it's easier than ever now to craft and obtain super strong gear, also without that much investments really. The character is currently level 90 and I went with the Tactician this time for the Acendancy, and I also wanted to try out the new Mortar skill, which looks really awesome, and yeah, it works just great with the setup. We went with full grenade mode this time, and it's very satisfying seeing the whole screen just blowing up everything as we go and just deletes everything. You have a lot of different paths and variations that you can go with this. I went with more focus on the actual self-cast grenade than the mortar itself, but if you like to, you can invest more in totems and you can absolutely go with that if you like to. I prefer this playstyle, however. For defense, you can also go with different paths here. I went with armor this time, as I did some changes to it, like adding armor applies to elemental damage, for example, so you take reduced damage for both physical and now also elemental damage. And they also added deflection, which makes it so you prevent 40% of the damage taken from hits and elements. And this is something that you usually get from stacking evasion, but with the Tactician's Ascendancy, we also get some now from our armor instead, which also helps quite a bit with our survivability. Now armor felt like the natural choice here, as we are usually in close combat, but you can go hybrid evasion or just pure evasion if you like to. I'll go over it a little bit more later in the video. Overall, it's a pretty safe build to play around if you are new also. Very beginner friendly, I would say, and it's gonna take you to the end game without any problem. So let's take a look on the character, and as I said, we went with the Tactician. We're at level 90 right now, and we're at around 13k armor almost, with full conversion to elemental damage as well, which is super awesome, and you can get even higher right with a bit of more investment, making you take less damage to elemental damage, which is super awesome. And yeah, overall just capped resist, we have 2.4k life. And yeah, it's just an overall pretty decent build so far, with quite a bit of movement speed as well, which do get higher when we are in combat also. Let's take a look on the items we are using, starting with the uniques, and we are using two of them right now. We have first Velko's Vice, which is a quite common item that you can use quite early on. And then we also have Constricting Command, which is a little bit more expensive, and yes, you don't need to have this for this build to work, but it's a super quality of life to have, and I will go over them both. But starting with Velko's Vice, this is quite common and you can get it for pretty cheap, and what it basically does is it converts the fire damage to lightning. And really why we want this is because this basically makes us shock enemies all of the time, and shock makes it so we deal or they take extra damage, and it's just an additive damage buff that we get by using these, which is awesome. You also get some great perks from being lightning as well, like picking up lightning rod. You have 30% chance of lightning damage for hits to be lucky. And basically what it means is, if you take a look on our explosive grenades here, we have 20k to almost 60k, and this basically makes it so it will roll twice and apply the higher damage number, so it's more likely for us to hit the 60k than the 20k. So super strong by being lightning damage. You have some other perks as well, some easy penetration as well, right? Stuff like that. It also provides some great stats as well, some attributes, right? Strength and dexterity, lightning resist, and we're also getting armor evasion, which we want for this build. Moving on to Constricting Command, and this is a new hand, and it's really awesome really, and for any attack based build. So you get a lot of life attributes and some regen, but then we have the lower row there, require 5 fewer enemies to be surrounded, and this can be a random value, right? 5 to 2, but you do need at least 5 for this to work, and this will basically make it so you will always be surrounded. Now if we take a look on the skill tree, and you do have 2 nodes, or 3 really. This row here all of these do apply to when you are surrounded, and also over here, and it's a lot of armor, survivability, and also damage. This one, for example, is movement speed, and here you have 100% increased attack damage while surrounded, and yeah, a lot of great perks we get from these ones. A lot of damage, a lot of armor, some attack speed here, and you also have some down here for even more attack damage. And I do think it was like 270% attack damage from all of these nodes we pick up here, which is super strong, right? And that's just from using this helmet. Now, as I said, you do need to have 5 fewer enemies to always be surrounded, but it's absolutely something that I recommend you to aim for. But as I said, I didn't have this until I were well beyond tier 15 maps, right, and farming all of those. So absolutely no item that you do need, but something that you want to get as soon as you can. And for the rest of the gear, it's basically just self-craft stuff. I used Essence a lot and some of the cheaper omens. I've not been touching the end-game omen craft really. So yeah, it's very common to just do these items. I got a magic item with increased physical damage with the base crit as a suffix, and then just slam the flat physical damage Essence on there. And I made a Abyss mod, and then we just got some Exalts Slam for some suffixes, and then I added the perfect Essence for the +6 to all attack skills, and that was basically it. Sadly, the Abyss mod I got was super bad for me, but hey, I can actually do reroll here, but it do cost like a divine or 2, something like that. But I'm poor, so this is what we are using right now. You can also get like increased grenade damage as a prefix. There are also some interesting suffixes as well, like double detonations, right? So there are some other variations that you can do with this, and obviously a higher physical roll there as well would be awesome, or even just flat lightning damage would be really nice, or even fireworks because the fire conversion, right? And yeah, you can get some insane items for fairly cheap. Amulet, also something that I self-made. You get one with life and projectile skills as a prefix and suffix, and then I went with the Chaos Resist as a Essence Slam, then slammed some Exalts, and I put another perfect Essence, that's the increased global defense modifier there, and added the Abyss mod. For the anoint, we're using Primal Sundering. It's a fairly cheap one to use early on. Damage penetrates, a % of elemental resist, and also increase to area of effect for attacks. Works great for this build. You have some other options to use from as well. One being Siphon is really helpful. It gives you recovery 2% of maximum mana on kill, and this is also that you can get from one of the Yules, right? But I don't have that currently, and this is something that you can also use if you are feeling trouble with your mana sustain. And then you have something like Essence of the Storm, just for extra damage, gain 5% of damage of extra lightning damage. This is a little bit more expensive though, so to keep that in mind, but there are other alternatives, but this is fairly cheap to start with. We are using 2 breach rings, and these are my favorite ones, and you can get some pretty interesting ones, like this one that I got here. It has fire damage to attacks, you have life, you have elemental resist, and also fire resist. Now, what's good with the breach rings is you can put up to 40% quality of the rings, and here, for example, I put the fire modifier here, so 40% plus 2 fire modifiers. So we do get increase to the fire damage attack, you also get increase to the fire resist there, and you do also get +2 all elemental resist, which is just so fun with these rings. You can get the value of 3 mods from 1 quality, right? So that's something that you look for here. This also have a physical attack damage as mana, which is super awesome to have. At least 1 source I would recommend to sustain your mana, right? The other one, just flat fire damage, maximum life, and also resist, same as the other one basically, but worse rolls. You can also get the ring with flat physical damage to attacks also. Even lightning damage works great as well, right? And if you do get one with lightning, then you can try and get the ring with lightning resist and all elemental resist as well, to get the lightning boost modifiers on the ring to boost all of those 3 stats instead, right? Now for the body armor, here you want to get as much flat armor as you can. You can also go with armor armor evasion for this body as well. But yeah, as much armor as you can, and also the suffix there, armor also applies to elemental damage, is really important to get here, and it's one of 3 sources that we get this from. You also get it from the boots, and you also have one from our passive tree, which we'll go over later, and I managed to get a little bit over 100%. Just get as much as you can, the more the better, right? You will take less elemental damage basically from hits, which is awesome. Try to go for as much armor as you can, as it is the biggest source to get that from. Later, when you try to mid-max, go for it, spend all your divines on the body armor to try to improve it even more. How I made this armor was basically I bought one with the armor base there as a prefix, and then also had armor also applies to elemental damage as a suffix, and you need this as a magic item. And then you slammed increased armor with a essence, and that's basically it to make yourself a 2k armor body armor. And also got lucky on the 3 socket corruption as well, which is helpful. And you put some extra greater iron runes on there for even more armor, right? You can also use a perfect Essence of Seeking. This makes it so hit against you have reduced critical damage bonus, which is awesome. I forgot to do it before I corrupted my item, but hey, you learn, and hopefully I won't forget it next time I craft a body armor. Then for the boots, here you want to get either armor or, as I have here, a armor evasion base. Either works fine. I went with movement speed, increased armor evasion, life, resist, and armor also applies to elemental damage, which we mentioned earlier. The boots, I got a magic pair with increased movement speed and armor applies to elemental damage as suffix. Then I used a fire resist essence because I needed fire resist, and then I just got lucky with an Exile slam for the plus to maximum life and increased armor. Both were T1, so a really lucky slam indeed for these boots, and yeah, they are super great. Last item we are using is a plated belt, and if you can, try to get this base. It do provide flat armor, which is awesome. You do need +2 charms at least to get all the charm slots, and yeah, other than that, life, resist, and also flat armor here, really awesome. I got this belt with maximum life with cold resist. I slammed a chaos resist essence on it for the resist there, and then exalted and got lucky with the armor, and that's going to be the belt. For the charms we are using, we have one for freeze immunity, we're using one for stun immunity, and then we also have one unique one, Nagohama's Shusen. Hope I pronounced that right, but this basically makes it so you get some rage, and that's going to be when you take some fire damage. Rage you do apply or do increase the physical attack damage, so it's just a boost from time to time by having this one. Nothing crazy. For the flask, I have one with a percent to apply instant. Can be helpful in stressful situations, and then just a normal mana flask with increased recovery rate, and also charges per second is a little bit helpful in sometimes. We're also using some Yules, and we have 2 unique ones, starting with From Nothing, and here I'm using this one which makes it so we can pick points around the blood magic without being allocated, and this basically gives us 30% of armor also applied to elemental damage. This is going to be our 3rd source from that. We're also picking up Ancestral Atrophy for some increase to our totem placement speed, 30% there, which is quite helpful. And then we're also using one point here, Abyssal Rage, just for the 25% increased attack damage. The second one we are using is going to be a new one, Heart of the Well, and these are very interesting items that you can find when doing the Abyss. Now, try to get the gain or a percent of damage as extra fire damage. You can also go for lightning damage, but lightning damage is quite expensive because there are quite a bit of meta with lightning, right, with the rangers and all of that stuff, but yeah, either works fine, and you can even get a double roll here as well, which is awesome. I got one with movement speed, some extra resist is whatever, but also cooldown recovery, which is really helpful and a super important stat for grenades. It basically makes it so you can shoot out the grenades faster, right? It do have a cooldown, so yeah, cooldown recovery is really great for this build. And we're also just having a normal one here, and it's nothing crazy really. I went with some crit damage bonus and increased damage with crossbows. The increased magnitude of ailments also is quite nice to have. It do boost the shock, right? So we deal, or they take more damage by that. And as I mentioned earlier, I would probably try and get one with mana recovery on the Yule instead of this for some quality of life while mapping. It's nothing really something that you do need. I don't really feel that I do need it when I'm playing right now, but it would be a super quality of life to have while mapping, not having to be worrying about your mana. Now let's take a look on the rest of the passive skill tree here. I do have a link to the POB if you want to check it out for yourself, but I'll go over some here if you want to follow up here and don't miss on anything. But we basically pass through here, grabbing these cooldown recoveries here. We have some increase to armor and defense right there. Here is for two-handed weapons. This provides increased damage. We have the cluster here for grenades, +1 to cooldown, and we also have, so grenades fire an additional projectile. This is huge. We are going down here. We went over this before. It's going to be the surrounded nodes right here and also over here. And if you don't have the helmet, you can just respec from these. You have other sources of damage, like over here, for example, you have projectile damage, a lot of them right next to here. You also have some extra right here. So there are other sources for damage. But yeah, we went with this. If you do have the helmet, it's something that I would recommend to get as soon as you can. Also, picking up these notes here for more damage and also for cooldown recovery, which is awesome. We have some new ballista nodes right here. We get increased area of effect when we have a totem up, also +1 to ballista totems. We do, however, only use one totem though. We will go over it more when we go over the skills. But yeah, it's a little bit helpful with this, but it do add up to the build really. Then we have some new clusters down here for grenades. We gain 4% of damage as extra fire damage for every grenade we fire in the past 8 seconds. We are using 4 different grenades right now, so that's 16% of damage as extra fire damage, which is awesome. And then Iron Reflex, it will convert all evasion rating to armor.
Good news.
Oh, thank you for the buy. But yeah, this one will make it so you can choose to go just pure armor, or also if you want to go for hybrid armor bases, right? So if you're only going armor, then you don't need to have this. But you do get some from your unique helmet, right? Here's evasion, and also from the gloves. So I do recommend you to still use this when you do get those items. We're also pathing through these nodes here, and this one gives you 2 of these 3 stats. We get increased maximum life, and we're also getting movement speed. And this build is quite heavily into movement speed, and I'll go over it a little bit later here. But yeah, 5% movement speed, 5% life, really awesome node for that. We have some more grenades down here, 50% chance to activate a second time, just awesome. And then we're just pathing through here for more damage. It's elemental damage from all of these nodes and also some penetration. And then we're also getting 1 point in glancing blow. And this is going to be so you get just higher chance to deflect. So your deflect is going to be lucky, and we are getting deflect by using this one here, polish the gear from our Acendancy. We gain 20% of our armor as deflecting rating. So currently we are at 27%. With the lucky estimation, it's 47. So just another layer of defense, and I think it's fairly useful to use. It's just 2 points really here, right? I think it's quite nice to have just from those 2 nodes alone and providing some extra survivability. So that's all the basic there, but then we also have some weapon swapping as well. So the first swap, I'm trying to go for more movement speed. So we have these nodes right here. Ignore all movement penalties from armor, which is nice. You get some more movement speed from using these as well. extra move speed here as well when we have killed recently, so it do buff up and we do get quite fast when mapping. Then we have weapon set 2, and that's going to be more for bossing. Then we are speccing into more damage here. This will boost the damage when we are attacking rares and uniques, and we're also speccing up right here for lightning rod, the 30% chance of lightning damage with hits to be lucky. And yeah, we're just going more damage for bosses basically, and we are zooming more when we are doing maps. Now let's take a look on the Ascendancy we are using. We are going with the Tactician, and there are quite a bit of different variations that can go here. I went over a couple and I will mention them here, so do keep up for that. But let's just start with this current setup that I've been using mostly. Starting with cannons ready. From this we get plus to maximum summon of totems. We also get 30% more skill speed, so it shoot out faster. But it also makes it so totems can only use skills when we fire a attack projectile. So each time we cast grenades, this mortar or totem will also shoot out the grenades socketed into that as well. So that's how this works. But the second one here is providing us with a aura when we are standing close to the totem, and it's different buffs depending on what you are using. We are using the mortar cannon, and the mortar cannon grants 15% of damage gain as extra fire damage. So yes, more damage for the build, and it's really awesome for bossing. Next up, we're using a solid plan. This makes it so all the precision buffs that we are using, so all auras do have 50% less reservation, which is huge, so we can fit in more of those buffs into the build. And lastly, polish the gear. We went over this before. We gain deflection rating equal to 20% of our armor. We also gain a little bit of element threshold from our evasion rating as well, so we do add up a little bit here. The most important thing here is going to be the deflect rating, and as I mentioned earlier, combined with the glancing blow, we at the moment currently around 50% with the luck included there. Now, as I mentioned, there are also some other alternatives as well. Like when you are mapping, you can go for this row right here. It basically makes it so projectile damage builds pin, and pinned enemies is basically a form of stun, right? So when we are mapping, each and every one of all the grenades will just stun enemies constantly, and it's really nice to do when you are using like a really used up map. And the totem are dying quite a bit when you are doing used up maps, so I actually prefer playing with this when I do map, but I do prefer this when I'm doing bosses, right, because it just adds more damage to the boss fight. But that's something to keep up with, and it's a really nice alternative. Also, going for here, whoever pays best, this basically makes it so you can use banners all of the time, really. Banners gain 5 glory per second, so banners are quite strong. We are using one banner right now. It's a war banner. It provides attack damage and also attack speed, and it's more attack damage, so just more damage by using this. And it's also really nice for bosses, right? Because it's basically makes it so you can plant this before the boss fight have started. Those pinnacle bosses, for example. So you can pre-cast all of these, and yeah, it's basically making it so you can have 100% uptime of your banners, and you can spec into that if you like to. And yeah, so that's also super strong to use. So those are some of the alternatives that I like to go for. I not really think that the other ones are really interesting. This one can be quite strong, but something that I might want to check into a little bit later and watch how I do it was it's more if you are going full totem build, right? Let's take a look on our skills that we are using. Now, everything is in the POB, so I recommend you to just check it out there. But let's go over some of the changes here. And starting with our main damage ability is going to be explosive grenades. This is at the moment at level 27, and we get almost 1500% of the attack damage, which is just insane. And we're also shooting out like 5 projectiles, I think, each time we use a skill. So a shit ton of damage from this, and a huge buff this league. Now, another thing that's really awesome in this patch is short fuse 2. So this basically makes it so you have 80% less detonation time, and you get additional in the skill or the passive tree. but huge addition right now. Before this patch, it really felt like grenades were something like you shoot out a grenade and then you gamble if you die before it detonates, right? So this is no longer the thing, right? It basically makes this skill instant, and yeah, I wouldn't play without it. Super awesome, and really makes the grenade viable build again. Multi-shot, yes, more projectiles with this. We're also using elemental armament, more elemental damage. Lightning achievement, extra lightning damage, and as we are using all our fire damage is now going with lightning, that's why we are using lightning achievement to get more lightning instead of fire, right? Close combat, more damage when we are close. We are basically close by all of the time, so yes, more damage from this. Now mortar cannon, also something new, so you pop up the cannon and it will shoot whatever is socketed in here. I'm going a little bit between cluster grenades when we are doing maps, and then also explosive grenade when doing like pinnacle bosses. It's just a little bit more damage, I feel, but yeah, cluster grenades, awesome. It's just bigger AoE and awesome when we are using it for maps. And you put it down. And here you also have the ring for the aura, so it's around here, and it will shoot out each time you are shooting a projectile for yourself. Now, we are using Great Wood, so this basically makes so we can only have one active totem, but all the totem limits do buff the actual totem itself, and I do think we are at +3 right now. So we do get more area of effect, we get more totem damage and also more totem life. So it's really nice, but yeah, I do feel like the totem, it do dies quite a bit, and it would just die even more right without it. But it's more like a buff, or a buff when we are doing bosses or hard elites, right? Rares, stuff like that. So it doesn't really matter too much for us. But also using this with lightning tunes for more lightning damage, and the payload, it makes it so it have 50% chance to activate a second time. So we have a shit ton of cluster grenades up basically all of the time, and yeah, really, really great. We're also using a normal cluster grenade ourselves, and this is going to be also with short fuse. We have lightning achievement, magma area, just bigger area. We're mostly using this for clear, right? And also the liberation. More damage, but we do get a movement speed penalty. Volatile grenades, it builds electrocute, so it's a source of stun basically, and also with short fuse, so it detonates instant. Lightning achievement here as well, elemental element for more elemental damage, and also deliberation here as well for more damage, but we get the more movement speed penalty instead. Oil grenade, this is basically to apply exposure. So exposure do lower the total elemental resist by 20%, and this is something that you can actually shoot out before like a boss start, and when it adds up here it will detonate on those grenades and it will apply the exposure to that boss. We are using potent exposure, this will make it more powerful, increase area of effect, make it bigger, and then we also have more skill effect duration, so it lasts longer. Then we're using War Banner, one of our buffs, and as mentioned earlier, we get more attack damage from this, also increase accuracy rating, increased attack speed, awesome for bosses, but without specking into the banners and the passives in the Acendancy. So this is basically something that you use usually on maps, and yeah, you do build up on the bosses, right? But it's just a extra buff to damage when we can use it. We use prolonged duration, make it so we can stay up longer, magnifying effect for bigger area. Refraction, this adds a little bit of mitigation as well. Armor applied to elemental hit damage taken, so more mitigation there. And the Restless Passion, this just this is a new support which is lower glory use, so we can use it more frequently. Attrition, this gives us more damage longer we stayed close to a unique, so really great to have for pinnacle bosses, for example. It would ramp up the damage up to 57% and also giving us Culling Strike. I just put in whatever I thought was useful. Cooler headed, just less ignite duration, some precision for some more accuracy, and Cannibalism is awesome. It gives you life recover on kill, which is great. Time of Need, this gives you some life healing, and also it removes curses and elemental ailments from time to time. It have 10-second duration. It do get lowered by this. I think it's yeah, it doesn't show here, but it do get lowered the cooldown here, so it's not 10, it's like 7 or 6, right, with this. And then we're also having Scavenged Plating. This provides us with more armor when we are running around killing enemies basically, and just buffs up those armor numbers. And this is also linked with Prolonged Duration for, well, more skill effect duration, so it stay up longer. Now before we wrap up this video, let's just talk a little bit how I level up this character, and it's really easy really. And what I went with was Flash Grenade, and you will use this as your AoE ability, and you can add as much fire or lightning damage or whatever you like at the beginning. But yeah, use Flash Grenade. It's basically instant without any of the support, so it's awesome to use as your AoE ability. And then you also just want to auto attack everything. It's usually what you want to do for single target right at the start. Then when you get access to Gas Grenade and also Explosive Grenade, then you can use this combo on bosses. You shoot gas grenades, it will apply the poison, right, and the poison cloud, and then when it explodes from the explosive grenades, the poison will explode, so it's just a double dip damage basically from this, which works all the way until you get the ballistas and everything like that. And that's basically how I played all the way until I got myself to Short Fuse. You have Short Fuse 1 that you can use. It's 40% less detonation time, which is super helpful, and then you can transition over into the actual gameplay that I'm using right here, right? But yeah, Fuse 2 is obviously what you want to go for, but you have Short Fuse 1, it's at level 2, I'm not really sure the level of it, but here is when you want to, or you can transition into this build setup. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe if you found this video helpful. If you have other questions, feel free to drop a comment and I'll try to answer them as soon as I can. And have you played grenades this season? Feel free to drop a comment on what you are playing or some other combinations that I have missed out on. And with that said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!